Hi, it's Cathy Cena with Tri-Cities Community TV. We'd like to thank the Coquitlam Public Library for donating their space, as well as we'd like to thank the Coquitlam People's Land that we are on right now. Thank you. Our guest today is Jodie Wickens. Some of you may know her from a previous election that she ran in 2016, but we're here to talk about this election and all things that are happening in your life. And I'd like to ask you, just start off by asking you, why did you decide to run again?
Well, thank you for having me, Cathy. I really appreciate it. First and foremost, I love this community. I love Coquitlam. I've lived here for 20 years. I'm raising my children here. My husband and I bought our first home here 5 years ago. I'll live my entire life here. I have worked in this community for a really long time, supporting families and children. I have volunteered on various boards. I have a deep value in public service. I think it's really important to give back to something that's sort of bigger than yourself. And so I was passionate about that the last time I ran, and I had a really amazing experience when I ran and was the MLA the last time.
So you ran and you won in the by-election.
Yes.
And then in 2017, we had a regular election and you lost by 87 votes.
87.
That is crazy.
Yes, it was the closest riding in the province.
Yes.
I was personally, upset by that loss, but also I'm grateful for that too. I've spent the last 8 years working in community, watching our government from community, being a service user, a mom, a community member. I've gotten to see the good things that our Premier David Eby has done, the things that our BC NDP government has done. And so when our current MLA Fin Donnelly decided he was going to retire and they asked me if I would think about running again, I thought about it. I talked to my family, everyone was on board, and I thought it was a really great opportunity to bring my voice to the legislature again and be a great, strong voice for Coquitlam.
So you're running in the Coquitlam-Burke Mountain area, region, district, what do you guys call it?
Coquitlam-Burke Mountain riding.
In that riding, yes, exactly. Okay, that's great. Just out of curiosity, do you live in the riding?
I do, yes.
Okay, good. That's great. Not that it matters, but just checking there. You talked about your family. You talked about, you got the green light from your husband, of course. Now it's very hard. You'll be in Victoria for quite a bit of this time, and it's going to be difficult. If when you get elected, and how do you think that's going to affect your children?
Well, this was a Wickens family decision. I went on walks with both of my children and asked them what they thought. My youngest is 14 in high school, ran for the student council this year, so it's very much in sort of their passion as well. My oldest just turned 18, and he said, Mom, I get to vote for the first time, and I really want to vote for you.
So that's amazing.
It was a family decision, and there will be sacrifices, and there will be challenges, and we think it's worth it. We think when you believe in something, believe in giving back to your community, I'm going to show that to my kids, that we work hard, we try hard, we support people who need it, and I think that'll be a good lesson for them too.
What do you think the main ingredient is for you to be successful this time? You've done it once before, you had a taste of it. It was not a long haul, just a short one, and you're putting your name back in the ring again. What do you think it's going to take to be successful and to get those votes your way and have the other person lose by 87?
Sure. Well, I am incredibly connected to this community. I talk to people all the time, whether it was inside this election or outside of the election. I've knocked on a lot of doors, checking in with people about what's important to them, how they feel, what are they most passionate about, what are people struggling with. There's a lot of issues in this election that people want to see our government continue to work on. There has been work that's been done, whether it be healthcare, cost of living, housing. People are still feeling like, we need more. There's been steps made, but we'd like to see more. And so connecting with them on those issues, making sure that they know that they have a strong voice and a strong advocate going over to Victoria for them. Our Premier asked me to run in this election, and so I feel that I can do that for the people who need it, and so I'll just keep knocking on those doors and keep connecting with people on those issues.
What are some of the themes that you are hearing on the doorsteps? And then I'd like you to go into telling us what the BC NDP is doing about this currently and what you think that they should be doing in the future if people are asking for a bit more.
Sure.
So let's talk about housing for an example.
Sure, yeah. Well, you know, housing has been an issue for a really long time. My husband and I just bought our first home. We struggled for a long time to try and get into the housing market. We were able to do that with the help of our mother-in-law, like so many other people across this province. And so that has been a major focus of our Premier and of our government. And so we've taken real action to ensure that we're lessening speculation in the market. So it's really about housing for homes and not housing for speculation. And so a lot of work has been done in that regard, you know, building more homes so that we have more access for a variety of types of homes for families, for students, for seniors, affordable housing, getting more affordable units online. You know, it's been a very comprehensive housing plan, and I think we've built faster than we ever have before. And so that's really a big focus, and people are excited when you talk to them about that on the doorstep, for sure.
And so what other themes are you hearing on the doorstep besides that?
Yeah, so we definitely hear about healthcare. You know, our communities are growing. They're also aging. I'm kind of in the middle. I have my elderly mother-in-law that lives with us, and I have teenagers. And so, you know, it's a challenge. We lost our family doctor this year, and so we hear a lot about that on the doorstep as well. But our government is doing the most that it can possibly do, I think, right now. We've hired 800 new family doctors across the province. We're looking at innovative ways to deliver health care. So for example, you know, if you need birth control, you can go to the pharmacist. I had a minor infection the other day, and the pharmacist was able to prescribe antibiotics for me. And so looking at different ways to deliver health care has been a real focus of the government as well, and there's still work to be done. We have decreased wait times for MRIs and hip and knee surgeries and things like that. We're getting to a place where we're one of the best provinces in Canada in respect to some of those things, but there's still more work to be done. I think that's something, when I was making my decision to run in this election, it felt like there was a lot also at stake in way of what we've done and wanting to continue to do more. I am a little bit worried, you know, John Rustad and Kevin Falcon have talked about healthcare. John Rustad's platform has about a $4 billion cut to healthcare, and so that's really concerning. You know, historically, we've seen cuts and slashes to different areas of our healthcare system, which has contributed to some of the challenges we face today. And so I'm confident. Our Premier David Eby's wife is a doctor. You know, it's a priority for him personally and as the leader of our province. And so I'm excited to see what more we can do on that, for sure.
Yeah, definitely healthcare is very important. I mean, these waits at hospitals, it's just, you know, and also, you know, how long it takes for an ambulance to get to your home. By then, you know, a person, you know, something really detrimental could happen because we're waiting 18, 22, and sometimes well over 30 minutes for an ambulance. I'm glad to hear about the 800 doctors that have been hired throughout the province. I think you're right, though, in saying that, you know, people want to see more. I don't think it's enough. I mean, it's great that we gave pharmacists this much, you know, pull on what they could and couldn't do. I think that was an effective way to sort of take off the, you know, I can't get in to see my doctor for 3 weeks, you know, and it's an appointment online and it's all the things, right? Where people, I know some people, they can go in the same week. And I think, I want this doctor, you know, but it is what it is, and we're not going to, you know, fix all the problems overnight by all means. Do you know if you, if all of your candidates in all of the areas have been, all of the areas have already been sort of occupied. I know that the Greens have been putting out something saying that they're looking for candidates, especially in the Tri-Cities. I don't think I've seen any Green candidates yet. Has David Eby, sort of handpicked or chosen or asked through, people like in his various ridings that he'd like them to run, and are all those spots filled? Are you feeling confident in the party?
Yeah, we have a very democratic process that we undertake in the BC NDP. So it's a nomination process. Local members of your community vote whether they want you to be the candidate or not.
Right.
And I think we're pretty close to having all ridings have a candidate. And it's actually one of the things I'm most excited about. Because when I look at our slate of candidates, they are impressive. Impressive women, impressive Indigenous candidates. We have lawyers, we have healthcare providers. It's actually one of the things that recently I was at an event and I looked around and I'm like, this aligns with who I am and my values. These are people reflected of who lives in our communities, who lives in our province, and they are high caliber candidates that are passionate about their community. I think we have mostly all ridings with candidates, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Earlier today, we were able to interview the Member of Parliament for Coquitlam, Port Moody, Belcarra, and more. So that was exciting. She sort of came out of the gate running when she was first elected. I'd like to know, if the election was tomorrow and you won, do you have a 30, 60, 90-day plan in terms of what you think you're going to do? I know there's a process, but I know that in a lot of ways, I think that I'm not saying you have your own agenda by all means, but I mean, there might be things like, wow, you know what, 75% of all the doors I knocked on, it was healthcare. I'm going to hammer this home. I'm going to bring up this motion, and I want this to pass in government and so forth. Do you have certain things that you'd like to sort of put forward to the caucus and see how that goes for yourself? Give me three if you have three.
Well, that's a big question, Cathy. I would say where I go to first is, the people I've talked to on the doorstep, the constituents. The job of the MLA really in their local office is to respond to the things people have brought forward to them. So even yesterday, I knocked on a door, a young mom, passionate about access to childcare for her young children. Her child had a disability. Obviously, I'm very passionate about that. That's my background. Increasing access to early intervention services, those types of things. I think leaders have a responsibility to be responsive to all of their constituents and all of their concerns. And so my first piece would be to respond to everybody who's connected with me and chat with them about, okay, how can I bring these issues forward to Victoria? And then our Premier, when he asked me to run, it was a lot about my connection to families in the community and the importance of early intervention for children. Youth mental health services is a big thing in our community. And so sort of bringing all those things to the caucus table and having conversations about them is a priority. I think it's important to have a collaborative approach when you're in a leadership position for your community too. And so I don't have a personal agenda. I have the community's agenda. Great. And so that's about me bringing those issues with me when I go there and leveraging the relationships, I think the respectful relationships that I have there to bring those issues forward and make real meaningful change, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely, it does. I also know that governments are trying to bring up, the different minorities. Like you said, you're so excited about all the other candidates that are running with you. You are a female. I think that's fantastic. Tell me some of the things that have been going on behind the scenes while you have been, campaigning. What does it take to be in an election and run? You've done it twice. You're going into your second time now. So maybe share a little bit about that. Maybe there's some of our viewers that would aspire to do something like this down the road, and they don't really know because they don't know what the first step that they have to do is. So perhaps you can share that.
Well, I mean, my first journey into politics was in 2014 when I ran for school board trustee. I wasn't successful in that election because I didn't know anything about politics, right? I was passionate about access to good quality education for my children. And so, you know, I tried. I put my name out there and I tried. And then I formed relationships and I got to know people and I got to know the process a little bit better. I would say the number one thing that you do on a campaign is you talk to as many people as possible. You meet as many people on the doorstep in your community and you let them know why you're passionate about representing them in the legislature, and they get to decide, the voters get to decide whether they want you to represent them or not. And so that's really all the behind the scenes is knocking on doors, making phone calls, connecting with people, letting them know what your platform is, responding to concerns, and getting as many people out to vote for you as possible. I mean, there's a whole campaign team that does various things on a campaign like this. But as the candidate, my job is to meet with my community. That's my job, to understand what their concerns are, to talk to them about how I can help support them with those concerns, and why I think David Eby and the BC NDP are the right team to address those concerns.
Would you say that campaigns work well, you know, with volunteers and also with the support of the community in terms of, you know, are you needing financial support when it comes to running a campaign? You know, what can that look like for people who are thinking about running?
Well, a campaign costs money. You need signs, you need leaflets, you need all of those things, and so you need to reach into your networks and fundraise for those things and ask for those things. I think as women candidates, sometimes we have a harder, you know, we're a little bit, it's harder for us to ask people for help, but it's definitely a part of a campaign and it's a part of something that you have to get used to doing. And people have been incredibly generous, I have found, on the campaigns that I have been a part of, on this campaign in particular. It's one of the most heartwarming pieces is when the volunteers come out and they're volunteering their time to help support you. And it's hundreds of hours. And people donate, you know, $20 if they can, or $500 if they can. And that just means so much. It means they believe in you. They believe in you as, you know, their leader potentially. They believe in the same thing, the same values that you have, and they want to see that move forward. So it's a really heartwarming process. And enjoyable too. It really is. I
can see it in your eyes. Your love cup is full.
Yeah.
When you have people coming out to support you and spending, you know, they could be doing other things. It is summer that you're campaigning. It's a very difficult time. 2014, you said 2014 reminded me that's when I ran for the first time too in Port Moody. Not successful, but that's okay. We're all, you know, it was a very good learning experience, and then you just learn how to be better for the next time and so forth. And for me, you know, volunteers are, you know, they're the fabric of our campaigns. Without them, you would be a lone soldier knocking, and you know, and that's okay too. Sometimes it totally is, like, but it's nice to have a team. You feel a little more supported and a little bit more like, yeah, we got this. You know, we had a really good day today, and so on and so forth. And what do you think people are saying on the doorsteps, or what have you heard? Rather, what are they saying in terms of what maybe they're not so happy with? You know, what kinds of things could the government be improving upon?
Well, I think I've mentioned the priorities of housing, healthcare. Cost of living comes up. I mean, look, I have 2 teenagers. Grocery bills are a lot. You know, and so people talk about that, about how things are a challenge, and we recognize that. And I think we've tried to take action to make life easier as much as we can. So eliminating things like MSP premiums, you know, increasing the family benefit, decreasing bridge tolls, ICBC costs, hydro costs, like all those fees that really hit your pocket. I think our government has really focused on trying to decrease, and so that families have more money in their pocket to spend in their local economy, to give them a little bit of breathing room. I mean, that comes up, and I sympathize, and like I said, there's always more work to be done, but there's good work that we've done as well, and we need to continue on with that.
Yes, yes, I agree. What ways can our community support you should they want to? And let's talk a little bit about that. Where can people, find out more information about who you are when it comes to election day? What is our date?
October 19th.
Right.
There's going to be lots of opportunities to vote before that. Every single vote counts. And so I would say certainly vote. And if you can tell all the folks you know to vote as well in the riding. If people are interested in coming out on the campaign and volunteering or donating, they can go on to the Jodie Wickens website. So jodie.wickens at bcndp.ca, I believe. Or the BC-NDP website, and you can scroll down and you can find Jodie Wickens. It's easy to find,
Yes.
Where you can get more information. So if people want to volunteer, if they want to donate, there's ways to do that. But voting is the most important. Taking a sign too is helpful. It's always nice to see orange signs all around. I love the color orange on the street. So
Yes.
if people want to take a sign, they can do that. So there's lots of ways to get involved. And I am super fun to go door knocking with. So if people want to volunteer, they'll have a great time and they can just come out with me.
I always loved feeding the volunteers at the end. They always were excited about, oh gosh, we got X and Y to eat later. I don't know what the food thing had to do with, but they all love to eat because they're famished after a lot of those walks. And Burke Mountain is not an easy up and down, the hills and the climbing.
There's lots of hills.
There's lots of hills.
Lots of hills.
So do you want to say your website one more time?
Sure. It's jodie.wickens at bcndp.ca.
Perfect. So hopefully this year you will go out and vote. Voting is really important, everyone. You can't complain if you don't vote. Have your say on October 19th. We were listening to Jodie Wickens, the candidate for Coquitlam-Burke Mountain. Hopefully you'll be able to give her your vote this year. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Cathy Cena.